Did you raise your rates by 5% at the beginning of the year, thinking that it was going to go ahead and significantly boost your profit margin? However, after all the effort, you come to realize it barely moved the needle. That's because your costs for operations keep on rising, but your bottom line doesn't really improve or raise up that much. This is Lauren Fogelman with Business Success Solution, and I just want you to realize that there are some hidden costs to those small rate increases, and they're just not enough to keep up with inflation, let alone grow your firm. So let's kind of look at the numbers. In 2023, inflation hit 4.1%. And yes, it was down in 2024 to about 2.9%. But if you raise your rates by 5, maybe even generously by 10%, you may think you're in a good place, but is it really enough? And from my experience, talking to firm owners over and over and over again, it probably isn't. Because part of what you're doing is possibly telling yourself that it's enough, it's a good thing, I'm doing it every year. And a lot of times you might only be doing it with new clients coming in, the old ones you leave alone. And even if you do with the old clients, it still doesn't make that much of a difference to your bottom line. So think about it. When you're only doing those small 5, maybe even 10% rate increases, basically you are just catching up. You're keeping up with the rate of inflation. And I see it like putting a Band-Aid on something that actually needs surgery, because those small rate increases might, in your mind, feel like progress. You're actually doing it when so many firm owners don't, but they don't really make that difference that you're hoping for. So once again, they can't keep pace a lot of times with your growing expenses. And think about this. I was talking with a client of mine, Karen. She has 4 employees in her firm, and she used to raise her rates pretty much annually about 6%. And once again, Karen was watching the numbers, and she realized after doing a cost analysis that they just weren't improving her profit margin. And if they did, it was like minimal. It wasn't really as much as what she was hoping for. So yes, the 6% increase helped with covering the increased operational costs, but her payroll had gone up, software fees had gone up, rent absolutely went up each and every year. And so that cost analysis showed that the rate increase was good, but it really wasn't doing the job that she was hoping it would. So I just want to say, doing a rate increase isn't the issue. It was rather about how she is approaching her pricing and her services. And I just want to say, tweaking her hourly rate just that little bit each year is like putting a price tag on her time. And it totally overlooked the value that she was delivering to her clients. And I know I talk about that a lot, but sometimes I need to say it in many different ways or at different times for it to really start to make that light bulb go on, that it's no longer about your time. I was talking with a coaching group of mine earlier today, and we were talking about connecting your fees to time at this point when there's offshore, there's software that you're competing with also a lot of times. It's like having a dial rotary phone on your wall as opposed to having a mobile phone. So that is something to think about, is that it's very, very antiquated and outdated. And think about this now for you. When was the last time that you actually raised your rates? Did you do that just with new clients coming in? Did you do that across the board with all your clients? Your legacy clients actually caught up to your current clients as far as what the fees are? And when you did raise your rates, how much of an impact did that actually make on your revenue? Was it significant enough where you were able to feel like, wow, this made a difference? I can now go ahead and maybe invest in my firm in this way, or I can go ahead and take some time to put into something else. Or did you find that maybe it barely made that dent? It just covered the operational costs. So think about that for yourself. If you were to do a cost analysis based on your current rates, what would you be seeing? What would those numbers be looking like? And I just want to say, this is where it starts to get interesting because these small annual increases do not address the core issue. And the core issue is that you're still basing everything on how long something takes rather than the value. But what happens when you get caught up in this cycle? You've always done it this way. It's comfortable for you. It feels very logical because there's a formula to it. But what happens when it fails to recognize or adapt for the impact you're delivering, or the fact that you now have improved a process so you're more efficient, or you brought in AI or some software solution, so something that maybe that was done manually can now be done virtually and with an AI tool. So I just want to say, yes, the small increases, they're better than nothing. They do cover your costs, but they don't give you the freedom or the profitability that you're seeking. So we want your clients to see you as a resource, as an advisor, not as a technician. And instead of asking yourself, how much more can I charge for my time or how long this takes me? Ask yourself, how much value am I delivering and how can my prices actually reflect that outcome and that value? And as you start to think about that, how your prices can reflect that outcome and that value, think about these action steps. I want you to start looking at your services from the perspective of value, not your time, and not what you value, which is operational cost and time. I want you to look at it from the client's value. How do they benefit? What does it do for them? What does it allow them to do? How does it make a difference? And then start asking yourself, so what are the outcomes that you're delivering to your clients? Because they're not actually what you really think they are. And what you really want to look at is, how do your services start to solve a problem, maybe save time, or help your clients to make more money? That's the things you want to think about to start to have that awareness about the value of your services moving forward. And as you do that, then the next thing is to identify your most high value services, the ones that really make a difference for your clients' businesses. And when you start to look at what are those high value services that make a difference for your clients' businesses, I want you to think about, what would you charge if you were able to base these services on the outcomes they deliver rather than how much time they spend? Because once again, as you gain expertise or your processes improve, you get more efficient. And also, as you add tech, it takes something that was done manually and now it can be done in a fraction of that time. So that is part of why pricing for your time is an old, outdated model that no longer works. It keeps you stuck. And I just want to say, let's go ahead and really solve this instead of having that short-term fix where you raise your rates by that 5, maybe 10% each year. And really, let's go ahead and do that major overhaul. That's going to make a significant difference. This is going to go ahead and start to break you free from the cycle of chasing inflation. And once again, stop thinking about your time and looking at yourself as a technician, which commoditizes your service, and start to think of the value that you bring to the clients, because you know what to do and you know how to implement it and you have the tools available to you. And this is going to be what starts to shift things around for you to be able to move your firm forward by charging fees that reflect your value, they're higher premium fees, and it also starts to attract a better client who's seeking a particular outcome, a result, as opposed to getting concierge services at rock bottom prices. That is not going to be what you want. So after you start thinking about these things, now review your services. Once again, start identifying where you can now base your pricing on the outcome, not the time. The outcome and the value from your client's point of view. So start to really think about, what could you shift if you even wanted to start with a small step. It's about small steps, starting to move in that direction, starting to see that clients will say yes, and they will move forward even as you raise your rates more than that little 5 to 10% increase. And as you start to look at your pricing differently, based on something that is strategic, that's based on outcomes. It's not looking at how much time it takes, but it reflects the impact that you deliver to your clients. So if you feel that this is something that interests you, you want to go ahead and move in this direction, then let's go ahead and have a conversation. Reach out to me to schedule a complimentary strategy session on finding your path to profits. And you can do that by going to businesssuccesssolution.com/let's talk to be able to get that moving forward, because it is time to talk about your pricing and really taking it to the next level of evolution for your firm so you can grow and have a firm that supports your lifestyle instead of one that takes the quality of life away from you and detracts from it. So stop competing on price and start pricing for value. This is Lauren Fogelman with Business Success Solutions, showing accounting firm owners how to double their revenue working half the time.